Good morning, class. Are you ready to learn about psychology?
Sure, why not?
You should be more excited. People have wondered about psychology since the beginning of time. Who are we? From where come our thoughts, our feelings, our actions? And how are we to understand and to master or manage those around us?
Are you reading a script?
No, of course not.
Really? I thought you were.
Oh, sensei! Ah! Okay.
Oh, how many things there are here that I do not want. We believe the mind and body are separate, and the mind goes on after death. I'm dying, but my mind will go on! Me too! Good thing Aristotle had to be born!
Well, the mind and the body are two separate entities, and we already know everything we need to know, so I'm out.
But that's not true. The body is not separate from the mind, and we're born knowing absolutely nothing.
We learn as
And we learn as we go through experiences in life.
we remember things better.
And we remember things better when we have an emotional attachment to them. You see, there are certain things that have helped us to survive to today. Because you see, thinking, like smelling, developed because it was adaptive, and it contributed to our ancestors' survival. Consciousness serves a purpose. It enables us to consider our past, adjust to our present circumstances, and plan our future. I believe that free will has practical value, as it gives us a reason to plan, to take initiative, and to discipline ourselves to form new habits of action. I think that we should explore down-to-earth emotions and memories, willpower, habits, and moment-to-moment streams of consciousness.
I see.
Okay, so I'm Mary Calkins, and I came here to learn from Mr. James. Right there. But even though I was finally allowed into a Harvard seminar, all the guys in the class dropped out. Babies. Anyway, so I did really well in the class, and then I beat all the guys out when I was taking my qualifying exams, but Harvard still wouldn't give me the freaking degree. Still, I went on to become the first female president of the American Psychological Association, and a teacher, Harvard Schmarvard. So seriously, you've kept us locked in this classroom for days. What is psychology? Well, psychology itself has been defined as many different things over the years. Starting with Wundt and Teichner, who focused on the inner sensations, images, and feelings. Psychology in the 1920s was defined as the science of mental life. However, things changed, and from the 1920s to the 1960s, American psychologists defined psychology as the science of observable behavior.
I'm observing some very interesting behaviors from you right now.
Look, I'm a little tired, okay?
Really?
And then, in the 1960s, people began to look more and more at psychology, and nowadays, psychology is defined as the science of behavior and mental process.
Ah.
That's what it is.
There are many different ways to study psychology. For instance, I study psychology from a neuroscience perspective. I study how all those circuits in your brain make you do things like blush.
I study things from an evolutionary perspective, where I find out why our ancestors did things that they did and how it helped them survive.
I study things from a behavioral genetics perspective. I study how people's inherited traits affect their personalities. The prince is catching me some milk.
I study psychology.
Economics!
The study of choice. I study psychology from a psychodynamic view. For instance, if someone were to have a sudden outburst, I would view it as an unconscious outlet of hostility.
I study things from a behavioral standpoint, where I look at how facial expressions relate to the emotions people are feeling, and how outside expressions and physical movements can be traced back to the inside stimuli.
I study things from a social cultural perspective. For instance, I look at situations that produce the most anger and how expressions of anger vary from different cultures.
Now, all these perspectives, please ignore the elephant noise I made. It's a rare condition in which I turn into an elephant very slowly, a very fuzzy purple one. All these perspectives don't necessarily have to contradict one another. In fact, they can work together to help us figure out how the mind works. Yay! If you picture a psychologist at work and envision a white-coated scientist probing a rat's brain, an intelligence researcher measuring how quickly an infant becomes bored or looks away from a familiar picture. Guys!
I killed you, John. An executive evaluating a new healthy lifestyles training program for employees. Someone at a computer keyboard analyzing data on whether adopted teens' temperaments are more closely resemble those of their adopted parents or those of their biological parents, or a therapist listening carefully to a client's depressed thoughts.
A traveler en route to another culture to collect data on variations in human values and behaviors. A teacher or writer sharing the joy of psychology with others, then you're absolutely correct.
Yay!
Some types of psychologists include biological psychologists who explore the link between the brain and the mind, developmental psychologists who study our changing abilities from womb to tomb,
Cognitive psychologists experimenting with how we perceive, think, and solve problems, personality psychologists investigating our persistent traits,
or social psychologists who exploring how we view and affect one another. And folks, that's it for Chapter 1 of our psychology textbook.